to our family. And so we'll do it like we normally do it. And then Jay and Roxy, I would love to catch up with you guys a little bit sometime this week, just to talk a little bit more about our trip. So I'll open up with a few things and then just open up for questions, and hope you guys are all doing well. It is so good to get off the road, man. I am so happy to be home, and I got 5 practices this week, and I just can hardly wait to get there on the floor and love on my guys. Just so grateful to Auburn and the NCAA for 2 reasons. One, Auburn's going to allow us to go take my kids to Israel and experience something that could be a once in a lifetime thing for them. And you want to talk about a commitment, to student athletes and getting this exposure, both historically, religiously, and then from a basketball standpoint, because one of the things our guys are going to find out in a hurry is they love their basketball in Israel and they're good. And, a lot of times you go on these summer tours and you do the best you can to try to play some competition, and there just flat out isn't any competition over there. We're going to get all we want. And so grateful. And then from the NCAA standpoint, I think the rule about being able to go overseas once every 4 years, a great rule. Let's not ever give that up. I've just had the opportunity to just go all over the world with Stanford. When I first got coaching in 1982, we took a trip to Japan. 1986, 87, before the fall at Tiananmen Square, we went to China, Korea, and Hong Kong when I was at Iowa. At Tennessee, we went to Germany and Belgium and France, and got a chance to see Western Europe. So this is a great thing, and we've done some pre-trip activities to try to help our guys understand Israel, understand it in a lot of different ways. So they've gotten some exposure to it. We've given them some books to read. I don't know how many of them have read them, but we want them just to go there with their eyes open and their ears open. And obviously we know that, Jerusalem and Israel was, the birthplace of almost all the world's religions. And so it's an opportunity for them to open up their hearts, open their minds, and see if they can feel and hear something special that's going to be a part of them for, forever. So we're excited. We leave on Saturday, and Lee Miller and her team has done a really, really good job putting this trip together. And right now we've named it Birthright for College Basketball. Birthright is a program that exists here in this country for Jewish Americans under the age of 30 to be able to travel to Israel expense-free, to be able to experience her and come to understand Israel as part of a young Jewish person's history. And the reason why we're calling it Birthright for College Basketball is because Auburn, through our fundraising efforts, is going to be sponsoring our student athletes and giving them that same opportunity to go over there and see Israel. So that's sort of that's the name of our trip. Questions?
Coach, I think we're going to actually kick it to Jay and Roxy real fast to give them a couple questions, and then we'll come back to you. So I don't know if you want to kind of segue into them and let them kind of speak for a bit on this trip, or how you want to do that. But we're actually going to take a couple questions for them first. So, and let's I'll start with a question for Jay and or Roxy, and then if we have some more in the chat, we'll go to that. I guess first, just you guys are going with them to Israel. How do these preseason tours kind of like help teams going into the season and all that? This is for Jay and or Roxy. You guys have been a part of this or seen teams benefit from this. How would you guys say it helped with that?
Well, I'll start. And first, we couldn't be more honored to be able to go with Auburn and Bruce Pearl and his staff for this once in a lifetime trip. We're thrilled beyond words. And to more directly answer the question, I played on a foreign tour when I was in college in the summer of 1983. The Duke team that I played on went to France, and it was certainly a good education for us beyond basketball. But I think more than anything, it served to bring our team together more than any other experience I think we had during our 4 years. When you're that close, and not only close in proximity, but in a foreign country, and spending that much time together, and then at the same time competing and practicing. I don't think there's anything that helped our development as a group more than that trip. And I think Auburn will find that at an even higher level with this trip to Israel. I think Bruce hit it on the head that this is once in a lifetime. And I won't speak for Roxy, but I can't imagine it was any different for him when we were asked if we would do this. My answer was absolutely. Can I please do this? So we're thrilled, and anything that Auburn needs from us, they got, because I can't wait to join them on this trip.
Yeah, I couldn't say yes fast enough when they proposed this opportunity for me. And look, my summer foreign tours consist of going to see the Dead and Company with Bill Walton. So anything other than that would be a much welcome sight. But I went to Israel for the first time 4 years ago with my family, and it was a life-changing experience. And I was upset with myself that it took me 40 plus years to go to Israel for the first time. And here was an opportunity to go back just 4 years later. And I'm so excited to get back over there and experience what they have to offer. And just also to see the faces of the Auburn kids, that the first time they're going to see things over there. I think that's going to be just worth it alone. Just the amazing culture, tradition, and history that we're all about to embark on.
We got a question for Jay and Roxy from Justin Hokinson.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Yeah, it's for Jay or Roxy. I guess in your eyes, what's the importance of these trips in general overseas, but specifically Israel? It's kind of hard to, I guess, ignore a lot of the cultural and implications of Israel and the United States and that kind of thing. So what do you think the significance is of college teams going over to Israel, learning about that place, making trips there? And obviously they love basketball. So just kind of talk about maybe specifically going to Israel and what you think that significance is for these college players.
I think the significance is almost beyond being able to put into words. That there's going to be a special feeling that everyone, myself included, takes from this trip. Not only the cultural and historic value, but sort of where things are geopolitically. We're going to learn a lot on this trip, and learn from each other. And the fact that it has so much cultural and faith-based significance to people that are on the trip is going to be of special significance. And I don't think anybody's throwing that word special around. I don't take special for granted, and I'm certainly not going to take how special this trip is going to be for granted. So I think a lot of these things, as far as what I mentioned before, a team coming closer together. Auburn's a very close team and close program already. And a lot of teams take trips that are great. Some of them take them closer to home. They go to the Bahamas, they go to Canada. Those are all great trips. I don't think I'm out on a limb here saying I think this has an opportunity to be the most significant trip that I've ever heard of, frankly. And for a close program to get even closer together and do it in a setting with a backdrop like Israel will have long-term benefits and ramifications that I think none of us can even fathom right now. It's something that you have to feel. I mean, I think Bruce would probably agree with this. It's one thing to tell someone something. It's another thing to have them feel it. And I think everyone involved in this trip is gonna feel the significance of it on a very deep level.
And as Bruce said, this is the experience of a lifetime for everybody. And who knows if people will ever get the opportunity to go back. But it's one thing to be able to read something or see something on the news. It's another to experience it. And I think that's what the Auburn kids and everybody is in store for in terms of getting to experience the culture and seeing it firsthand instead of what's being told to you about a place. And I think the educational aspect of this is going to be off the charts for them, considering some of the places that they're going to see and experiences they're going to have.
All right, we got one more question for Jay before we go back to BP. Justin Ferguson.
And Jay, you obviously know this Auburn team. You've covered them a lot, called a lot of their games. After last season and what they were able to accomplish and just kind of the roster turnover they've had, what are you looking forward to seeing from them on the floor during these 3 games?
That's a great question. First, I think what Bruce and his staff has done at Auburn is frankly remarkable. After knowing Bruce for so long, and Bruce told me this years ago. I wish I remembered it as well as he did. But I think Bruce's first recruiting call as a college basketball coach was to me. So it shows you he's come a long way in evaluating talent. He recruited schleps at the very beginning, and then went to more talented prospects. But I think what Bruce and his staff have done is absolutely remarkable. I knew he would do well. I'm not sure I could fathom how well with a Final Four, number 1 ranking last year, 2 first-round draft picks with Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith. With this team, it's going to be a different team. Some of the names will be the same, but they won't necessarily be the same players. They may have different roles. They have another year of maturity, and Bruce is adding some very talented young players. So I think it's going to be fun to see this on the ground level. And I always enjoy going to Bruce's practices, and he's been kind enough to let us into his scouting sessions, film sessions. And so I've learned a lot about the Auburn program and how they do things. And I think this will give us a foundational approach and view of what this season is going to be like. You're not going to see all the same plays. They're not going to have everything in during the summer, but it's going to be an extraordinary opportunity to watch a team grow from the seed level to as high as I know it'll be by April.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We're going to go to BP next. And the first question for BP is from Mark Murphy.
Yeah, Bruce, could you talk about what you hope to get from this trip as far as the newcomers go and overall team development?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I think that we may have a different starting lineup each game. I think we've got, as I look at our 3 opponents, the last game against the Israeli national team, will there be professional players in that team, including the young man that plays for the Washington Wizards? That's going to be the most challenging game of all. The select team also in Tel Aviv will be a collection of some good players. I wouldn't expect, they're not going to be as good. And in the first game, we play the U20 national team. I think that team's also going to be very good, very well coached. Those teams will be, the first and the third team will have been together a lot, and would be probably our toughest opponents. But I want to start somebody different every game. I'm not trying to determine who my best players are right this second. We've only had a summer, as Jay said, we got to put this thing together. And if I start deciding who's who in the zoo right now, it's not fair. I got August, I got September, I got October. I got plenty of time for those guys to show me who they can be, including on this trip. So I would imagine there's going to be, 10 guys, 11 guys playing every game, but 10 guys playing 20 minutes, and we'll share the sugar. And I may have a couple of guys that don't even dress for every game, just to try to keep from a standpoint of personnel. Again, like Jay said, I want to have everything in, but our basic stuff will be in, and we'll be able to, we're going to deal with some of that. It's going to be interesting to see the 24-second shot clock. I'm tooling with some 3/4 court pressure, and I'm tooling with a little bit more zone. Those guys will probably shoot it really well, so I got to be careful in the zone. But I wouldn't mind pressing up a little bit, take some time getting across, and then having them have to score in a short clock, which would be different from the 30-second shot clock. We'll be playing 4 quarters. So it'll give me an opportunity to look at what 4 quarters looks like the women have done, and they do everywhere in basketball. So that'll be a little different. You know what? And then the other thing too is so from a basketball standpoint, I do know it's an opportunity for the kids to experience things. When you think of your life's greatest moments, whatever they were, the birth of a child, a marriage, certain experiences, they were the greatest moments of your life because of who you shared them with. That's where they were the greatest moments. So whether it's a Final Four run or the birth of a child, it was because who you shared it with. And as Jay said, we're going to share this trip together, see things for the first time that we're never, ever going to forget. That's what makes it so special. And that's what, will give us a chance to be able to come together and get to know each other better.
All right, we go to Brian Stoltz next.
Bruce, besides the basketball, what is the one thing that you're looking forward to, maybe your players seeing or experiencing in Israel, maybe the Dead Sea, floating in it, something like that? And two, how big of a role did the trip in 2018 with the Final Four team make in how they came together?
The second part of your question was, I didn't hear.
The 2018 trip?
Yeah, Italy.
How big was that in forming kind of a bond with that team?
Jay said it. You got to let them experience it and let them take away from it whatever they take away from. Seeing is believing and living it. You ask anybody in Israel, hey, what can we do? Come back. Send somebody else over. That's all. That's it. And so that's what we'll do. And me, you say, whatever you do, don't talk about religion and politics. And whatever I do is all I do is talk about religion and politics. That's all I do. But we're going to let them experience things. The best thing they're going to do is they're going to walk outside a hotel and walk around Jerusalem. That's the best thing they're going to do. Just experience it, just see it. And want it to be normal. The world becomes very small when you go over there. I know it's going to be 12 hours in a plane, but it's a very small world when all of a sudden you're someplace you never thought, you would be. And that's part of the educational process. That's why they came to Auburn, to be able to get exposed to different things. And then it's going to affect them as fathers. It's going to affect them as adults. And that's kind of what we hope, to get out of it. And no question, in 18, we had a very new team. I think Jared Harper was a freshman. Mustafa Heron was a freshman. And that group, won a regular season championship. And I think it definitely helped us. Now, the competition was not very good, but the experience was very good.
Justin Ferguson.
Bruce, how have you seen the newcomers on your team kind of gel here throughout the summer, and how important will this trip specifically be for those guys that, haven't been part of your team yet, haven't played with these guys in a real game yet?
Yeah. Well, listen, culturally, culture's everything. And if you recruit them the right way, then you got a chance for them to have some success early. If you promise them too much, then they're going to wind up being disappointed, I guarantee you. So all these guys have been promised the opportunity. And they're all good. They're all talented. It's going to be fun to watch them play. Trey Donaldson, a quarterback that's trying to play basketball full time, comes into a deep point guard pool, but he knew that going in, and so he'll learn a lot from Zepp and from Wendell, and I hope he learns the right things from KD, and he learns some of the wrong things from KD, and so he'll KD's doing a good job with some leadership there. Chance Westry is the guy that can play 1 through 3 and gives me great flexibility. He's got things you can't teach, got an understanding. Those guys are really good because it gives you great flexibility and rotations. John Broom did it at a mid-major level, night in, night out, scoring with his back to the basket, pretty good shot blocker. Been very pleased with how Janai moves laterally. I think he's going to fit in defensively with what we like to do. And then for him, can he continue to score at the same efficiency rate against the size he'll see at this level, night in and night out? And can he transition to the perimeter a little bit more? Because you know how we like to use our bigs on the perimeter. And the last one is Yohan Traylor. You'll see that he's got that next level. I can see him at that next level because he got a different level lift, a different level of ability to stay in the air. He can shoot the ball. He's got some tools in the toolbox. He's just very young in the game. He's from France. He's only been playing basketball for about 4 years, and you can tell, but he's going to get there. So you blend those guys in with what we have returning, and it's just going to be, it'll be fun to see what what we're capable of doing. They're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot about ourselves.
All right, we'll go to Bennett Durando.
Bruce, I know you've talked about having wanted to make this specific trip happen for a long time. I'm curious, first of all, what you remember from being there in 09 with that US team. And how much did this sort of start then? Were there relationships that you built on that trip that sort of led to this 13 years later, or how exactly did it sort of come about with some of those relationships?
Well, I think ironic thing about the timing of your question is back in 2009, we did beat Israel in the gold medal game. And that was the Open Championship. And the USA team hadn't won the Open gold medal in a number of years. My best player was Danny Grunfeld. His father was an Olympic gold medalist and obviously a great player, in the NBA for a long time. But Ernie Grunfeld only won the silver medal in the Maccabi games when it was his age. And so Danny has always been able to stick up his dad, has been able to demonstrate to his father that he did something that his father, Ernie, couldn't do by winning the gold in Israel. And Ernie and Nancy actually came, with us to Israel and watched their son, win the gold medal. Last night, Lior Berman, who plays at Auburn, and a team coached by Doug Gottlieb. So Roxy, Jay, there still is hope for you guys to live out your dreams someday. If Gottlieb can win a gold medal, right? Unbelievable that those kids could overcome Coach Gottlieb. I'm really happy for Doug because, Doug's dad was a terrific coach and a great personality. And, his dad died years ago, and I know his dad's so proud of Doug for leading, the United States basketball team to a gold medal in Israel. Probably something that a box that his dad never got to check, that Doug got to check. So they've won 4 straight now. We won in 2009. They won in 13. They won in 17. And there's been a couple of years because of COVID where it's been delayed. Now they won the gold medal again. So Stephen Pearl played for me on that team. And so, you just get a feel for, I guess it's now, 14 years later.
All right, guys, couple
Great
more.
experience. The Final Four and winning a gold medal were two of the greatest experiences I've had as a coach.
Couple more in the chat. Next up is Jacob Gerbis.
Hi, Bruce. I know you mentioned calling this a birthright for college basketball. I'm wondering, aside from the basketball, what cultural, political, educational aspects to the trip there will be for the students while they're in Israel?
Now you should take a look. You could take a look at our itinerary, man. It's packed. It's packed. So we get there in Jerusalem, and we'll do the city of David, and get an opportunity to see where David's castle was, buried underneath. Like a lot of the old history, a lot of things have been built on top of it in many ways to try to eliminate it from the historical facts of its very existence. And we'll see the Western Wall in the morning. We will also go see the garden. We'll be in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus was betrayed. And we will then proceed up to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and we'll be on the Mount of Olives at that same time. So those are, 5 things on the ground that are going to be, that are right there in the Bible. And then we're going to go one day we're going to go to Yad Vashem, and we'll be seeing the Holocaust Museum, and that's obviously going to be very impactful for everybody on the trip. We'll be doing a clinic with Jewish children, Israeli children, and Palestinian children in Jerusalem. You remember Tamir Goodman, the Jewish Jordan? He'll be organizing that for us, and we'll be at the YMCA doing that. We're going to have lunch in Bethlehem. We're going to get a chance to see where Jesus was born, but also we're going to have lunch with the Palestinian national basketball coach at his home, and with our team. He's hosting us. And so that's just, we want, if at all possible, that to be normal. A Jewish basketball coach from Auburn taking his team over to Israel, having lunch with the Palestinian national basketball coach. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I hope it's just wonderful and normal. and something that people can look at. Okay, this is possible, guys. This is possible. From there, we'll also be doing the Dead Sea. The guys will get a chance to go to the lowest place on earth and float, and hopefully they'll be smart enough not to splash or fart, because either one of them can be painful. All right. Oh, you don't think farting's an option? I'm just try it. The Dead Sea. It's not a good experience. I didn't believe him, so I thought I'd go ahead and try it. Nah. And then we'll be up in Tel Aviv, which is technologically one of the most modern, innovative, high-tech cities on earth. And we're actually going to be doing a tech seminar where the guys are going to be learning about a lot of different things, including how to start companies, how to invest, and see the cool things that they're inventing over there. And we'll also go up to the Sea of Galilee. That's where Jesus lived, in the northern part of Israel for most of his life. That's where most of his ministry was. That's where he trained. That's where he performed most of his miracles. And we'll be going to the Jordan River. And we're going to be going to a location on the Jordan River where historically John baptized Jesus. And so our players that want to be baptized will have an opportunity to be baptized in the Jordan River. So, oh yeah, and we got 3 basketball games too. So, like everybody said, it is a once in a life. Hopefully, it's not a once in a lifetime experience, but it'll be just a great experience. And again, can you see why now I go back to thanking Auburn for this opportunity? And I'm grateful to ESPN for making this investment and being able to go with us and sort of tell this story. And I'm hoping that what we're going to create is maybe an every year thing. I'm going to give you one other thing. This is not done, but this is my dream and my vision, that next year we make this a 2-country stop. Next year we go to UAE and we play over there with the United Arab Emirates and we compete against some of their teams. And then we go on to Israel and compete some of their teams and call it the Abraham Cup or the Abraham Accords Cup. In other words, how can we contribute to peace in the Middle East? Normalization. We're going over to play basketball against a couple of the teams. There may have been a time when people thought, well, that's not a very good idea. That's too dangerous. Why would you do that? And that's why we want to try to do that. So that's what we see as far as our future is concerned. Guys, I'll take one more question in the interest of time. I appreciate you all being with me so very much. We're approaching half hour and I don't want to keep you.
All right, we're going to finish up with a question from Nubias Wilborn.
Hey, Bruce, hope you're doing well today.
Hey, Nubias.
Hey, man. So what happens when one farts in the Dead Sea? But also with the team, particularly you mentioned Trey, what has he been like in practice as far as getting used to going up against Zepp and Wendell and Katie?
Yeah, well, you don't want to get that salt in your eyes, okay, because it'll burn. And the same thing will happen on the other end. So you just don't want to, that's the deal. Yeah, Trey is he was a high school quarterback. He was the number 5 strong safety coming out of high school. Could have gone and played football anywhere. And he's playing the point guard position, or actually any of the guard positions for me. So, if you, every now and then, those guys on the football team, they can defend, they're physical, they know how to compete, they know how to work. And that's what Trey brings us. And so from a cultural standpoint, he's a great fit.
Awesome. BP, thanks for your time. Jay and Roxy, thank you as well. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Thank you.